Good afternoon, friends. Now we are playing ICAI motto song. I request all to put their right hand on their heart. Friends, now I request our chairman, CA Fenil Shah, to address his opening the participants.
Thank you, Vishin Bhai. The speaker for this session, Mohammed Asaria ji, and the co-speaker Arwa ji, the chairman of the CP committee and the vice chairman of the branch, CA Harit Dhariwal, the secretary of branch, CA Vishin Shah, and all the members and students attending from everywhere. I welcome you all to this particular webinar on global citizenship by investment. Friends, it's a very unique topic that normally we think on one facet, that is of investment, or we think on another facet, that is of getting a global citizenship. But how come by doing an investment, we can also get the global citizenship? That is the main agenda for this particular session. And before we start up with that, I would like to also invite you all to this panel discussion on day after tomorrow, that is on Saturday, from 4 to 5:30, because probably we all are thinking of having an investment either into real estate or gold or stocks, or we already had the investment in this particular avenue. So what is the future of this sectors? And to know that, we are having the local experts from our own city, Ahmedabad, to guide us. So kindly take the benefit of the same, and soon you will receive the email once the program is launched. And also we are having the GST series going on today evening from 5 to 6:30 also. So with this brief words, I again welcome the speakers Mohammed ji and Asarwa ji, and now I request Harit to take the session further.
Thank you, Fenil. The speaker for the session, Mr. Mohammed Asaria, the co-speaker and the moderator, Ms. Arwa, Chairman Fenil Bhai, Secretary Vishin Bhai, and all the members watching it. Very good afternoon to everyone. As Fenil Bhai told about the introduction of the session, I'll just add on one thing. Then in the morning we had a session on the payment methods, and now it's time to use those payment methods and invest outside the country so that you can be eligible to have citizenship of another country. So with this, I think we are going to have an overview of the citizenship by investment industry and specific focus on the Grenada program and professional opportunities for chartered accountants in the same sector. So today we are going to get an insight, as I said, on the Grenada citizenship by investment program, which will give you global benefits as well as access to sought after E2 visa, giving you ability to reside and work in the US. And to help us know more about it, we have a very prominent speaker, Mr. Mohammed Asaria. It's my pleasure to introduce him. Mr. Mohammed Asaria is the managing director and board member of Rage Developments, an international luxury hospital development company that develops luxury resorts in the Eastern Caribbean under Citizenship by Investment program. He began his career at Lowell's International Law Firm in 2001, where he specialized in capital markets and Islamic finance transactions. In 2010, he co-founded the Range Group of companies to develop ultra-luxury hospitality projects. The company has now grown to become the leading citizenship by investment developer in the Eastern Caribbean. He has become a pioneer in CBI, that is citizenship by investment, through investment in luxury hotels, Park Hyatt, St. Kitts, and Cabrit's Resort and Spa, and various other places at Grenada. He has gained tremendous reputation in the industry for developing ultra-luxury, high-end resorts that are transformational and has been recognized in several journals and magazines for the quality and delivery of the projects. Is considered as a leading authority on CBI matters and has presented and spoken at various forums over the years. Below to name a few. One is Investment Migration Forum at Geneva, IREX Residency Citizenship Conclave at Mumbai, Russian Wealth Advisors Forum at Dubai. He is frequently quoted in industry and business publications on the country by investment. So I welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for sparing your valuable time today. I would also like to introduce the co-speaker or maybe the moderator for the session, Ms. Arwa. So she'll be taking the questions at the end, and she has also developed a few FAQs which will be helpful to all of us. Ms. Arwa is a business manager, development manager for Range Developments. She's born and raised in UK and did her finance and accounting at Manchester University. She began a career at the Santander Bank in the UK, and she has more than 17 years of banking experience at various segments. In 2012, she moved to Dubai, from where she had joined the investment banking team at Barclays in the Middle East. Over her professional career, she has managed investment portfolios for individuals and managed for clients' personal financial goals by analyzing financial information to create and implement recommendations. Currently, Arwa manages a large network of partners predominantly in India and the Middle East for range developers. So, range development. So, with this, I welcome both of you for the session. I will now request Mr. Mohammed Asaria to please take the session forward.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for your kind words, Harith Bhai, Fenel Bhai, and all other chapter members. So thank you so much for that that kind introduction. Let me just turn on my screen. 1 second, please, and then we'll have the presentation up. Okay, I hope everyone can see the presentation. So, members of the Ahmedabad chapter, it's a great pleasure and it's a great honor to be presenting to all of you here today. You know, over the past 6 months before lockdown happened, I was in Ahmedabad maybe once a month and spending a lot of time in India, because this presentation and this subject has become very, very topical. And as we'll go through the presentation, I hope you will get an understanding of why it has become an essential tool within the high net worth investors asset allocation strategy. It is no longer an option. And we have seen that at times of crisis, like what is happening through this COVID lockdown, a second citizenship can assist not just the mobility of the individual, but the mobility of capital. And in addition to, it can prevent opportunities for economic migration. So when there is a sudden halt in the economy, and when people decide to restart and rejig their businesses and life, they can restart in other jurisdictions, which is becoming very, very interesting at the moment, and certainly consistent with a number of discussions I'm having. So we're going to start with a little bit of an overview of the global citizenship by investment industry. And then I'm going to share my personal journey. And then we're going to focus on Grenada. And you'll see why this has become the leading second citizenship opportunity globally. First of all, what is second citizenship? Second citizenship, or citizenship by investment, is where an investor, through statute in the relevant host country, invests a certain amount of money, and in return, that country, following a due diligence process, rewards that individual with the highest honor, which is its citizenship. It hasn't always been just a return in terms of economical return, in terms of an investor makes a cash investment. In times and in history, it's also been given to individuals who joined armies. So for example, in the Roman times, where citizenship by investment came about, if you fought for the Roman army, your family would also be given the honor of Roman citizenship in those days. You would be doing something, you're reducing your life expectancy to enhance the benefit of your family. And we find it's all about families, and when patriarchs of very large families look at this, they're looking for the future. And hence we chose the tagline for our business, we build for the future. Quite simply, ladies and gentlemen, immigration affects lives. It is not your typical investment. It's about capital and social preservation. I'm sure some of you must have seen the article in yesterday's Economic Times of India. 200,000 individuals of Indian origin are going to lose their H-1B status in the United States within the next few months because of this lockdown. They're going to be uprooted. They're going to have to leave the lives that they've built, and they're going to have to return somewhere, move somewhere. Lives will be disrupted. How many graduating Indian students who wish to get the first years of their experience in the United States will have to return home because they can't get H-1B visas. It's become so difficult, and EB-5 is effectively shut. However, it's not all doom and gloom. Grenada can provide solutions to some of those high net worth individuals, and we'll touch upon it during our own presentation. Let me tell you my personal journey with citizenship by investment, or a journey that I wished or my family should have taken. Was it a funding tool, or was it an investment which was available at a certain time? My mother was born in Kenya. My father was born in Uganda. We're third generation from we left India. Gujarat is our home state. So હું કોશિશ કરીશ જરા ગુજરાતીમાં વાત કરવાનું, but please માફ કરજો કે મારી ગુજરાતી એટલી સારી નથી. But so in 1972, we were all in Uganda. I hadn't been born then, but Idi Amin one fine morning woke up and said all Asian people must leave the country. My father ended up as a refugee in the United Kingdom. My uncles ended up as refugees in other Western countries. And we lost a generation as a family. We were in business in Uganda. Overnight, we became refugees. If my family at that time, and if this tool was available at that time, had a second citizenship, at least that plan could have been made, and there wouldn't have been that destruction of capital which associated that flight of humanity. And really, I came across this funding tool, or this investment structure, by total accident. In 2012, I was sitting in my office in Dubai. We had started a development company building hotels, and an individual walked in and said, Mohammed, I think you need to buy a second passport from the island of St. Kitts. And to me, all I knew about St. Kitts at the time is they had a great cricket team. They were part of the West Indies. And, you know, the pitch was, if you invest $500,000 in those days, within 3 months, you obtained a second citizenship, and you were investing in an apartment in those days, and you got visa-free travel to the world. So for me, when I heard this, to be honest, it sounded a little bit too good to be true. So what did I do? I called up the British High Commissioner in Barbados, which is the nearest island to St. Kitts where there's a High Commission. And I said, I have so-and-so in my office, and he's trying to sell me this second citizenship. And he's saying I can go to the UK and I can go to Schengen. You know, it doesn't sound legitimate to me. What do you want me to do with this individual? You know, that individual, the High Commissioner, spent an hour on the phone with me. He was very generous with his time. And he provided me comfort on what citizenship by investment was. He told me, we do it in the United Kingdom, it's called Tier 1 investment visas. We do it in the US, it's called EB-5. We do it in certain European countries, Malta and Cyprus. There's now 60 or 70 countries around the world which raise sovereign capital through the award of citizenship or residency to high net worth individuals. So I thought, what a fantastic funding tool. Because remember, this was 2012. I'm sitting in Dubai, and all around me, the Arab Spring is beginning to start bubble. You've got problems in Egypt, you've got problems in Lebanon, you've got problems in Syria, you've got problems in Yemen. And all these countries had a pool of high net worth individuals who were very nervous about the survival of their countries, and rightly so, with the benefit of foresight. So, you know, at the end of the day, we were not selling, or we were not promoting second citizenship at the time for visa-free travel. We were promoting second citizenship for the ability to have a backup plan, to have an insurance plan. And I foresee this as COVID really starts taking effect in the emerging markets and frontier markets. Similar needs will be with all high net worth individuals from certain frontier markets. I mean, we're seeing the beginning of civil unrest associated with the economic lockdown and shutdown, and as GDP starts declining. But we'll get on to that momentarily. Let's go back to 2012. So I arrived in St. Kitts. At the time, we basically, what did I see? I saw small apartments being sold for $500,000 to people who were looking for second citizenship. My discussions with the then government, the Prime Minister, were, ladies and gentlemen, you know, God has blessed you with this very strong diplomatic relations. We need to monetize it in such a way that it creates long-term economic prosperity for you, the indigenous population, and we have to build sustainable investments, because then only investors will be happy and come to your country. So we restructured the law in accordance, in conjunction with the government of St. Kitts in 2012, And we permitted the pooling of capital, investing in a fund, a real estate investment trust, which would build hotels. In each country, there's a different fund. And in return, an individual would be granted citizenship. It took us 2 years to work with the government of St. Kitts, and in 2014, we started construction of the Park Hyatt in St. Kitts. That hotel opened in 2017. It was awarded Best New Hotel in the Caribbean by Condé Nast, and it, by CNN, was awarded as one of the top 100 hotels in the world. So in 2015, I also got a call from the Prime Minister of the neighboring island called Dominica, who had a citizenship program since 1991, but it had never gained traction. So we worked with the government to restructure their program as well. We introduced the real estate limb because historically, their citizenship program was you have to make a contribution to the government, a donation to the government, again enshrined in the country's legislation, and you obtained a second citizenship. However, that wasn't popular with investors because investors don't like giving money away, especially not to a foreign government. They'd rather have an investment, as the chairman said, which would generate them a return, the ability to exit the investment, and in turn also obtain, as a side point, the citizenship by investment, the citizenship opportunity. So we restructured the Dominica citizenship program, worked with them to set in place a new citizenship unit, which was focused on efficiency, whilst maintaining the level of diligence they were doing in investors. Because I don't want anyone to come away from this seminar thinking, okay, you just pay the money, you pay 220 plus the government fees, and within 3 months you get a passport like this. No, you have to prepare a file, and that file has to go to third-party due diligence, whether it's Thomson Reuters or other leading companies on the world. And then in conjunction with the security services of major foreign countries, they do an analysis on your background, and then they award you second citizenship. They don't expect you to come and reside in the country for a period of time, but they will assess your background. And that's really important for you and your clients, because your clients want to be part of a club where there's similar people. They don't want any bad eggs to be in that, to be part of that club, because then the value of the citizenship will decrease. They want people, when they cross borders, to say, okay, we have a Grenada passport, it's a strong passport, you've been vetted by Grenada, welcome to our country. So they know that if you have that second passport of Grenada, you're a very strong and you have a great background. So we worked with the island of Dominica. 2015, we started construction of the Kempinski Hotel. We opened that in 2019 as, and again, to similar reviews, fully sold through citizenship. And you know, what's unique about Range is that we have a construction management division, and we also have a capital raising division, which raises capital through the sale of qualifying units, which provide people with second citizenship. And then we were invited to Grenada at the end of 2018. Again, we worked with the government of Grenada to restructure the citizenship law. And we'll get on to that during the course of the presentation, what exactly amendments we made with the government. We started construction on the Six Senses Hotel 2 to 3 months back. The hotel will open in November 2022, and we look forward to being on site again as soon as the lockdown in the island of Grenada is lifted. I stress we are the only company with a track record of delivery. We've opened the Park Hyatt, we've opened the Kempinski, and we're working on construction of the Six Senses. Today, we've been trusted by over 1,600 investors. And you know, when you take into account that the investor and his family can apply, over 4,000 individuals have been awarded second citizenship through our developments. And we've had the privilege to create over 2,300 jobs for the local economy. With your continued trust, your clients' trust and support, we look forward to really increasing those numbers year on year, and we look forward to a successful second decade of operation with your continued support. Finance professionals, lawyers, tax consultants are basically the biggest source of business we have, because they understand the challenges their clients are going through, and they also understand the solution that second citizenship can provide their clients. These are pictures of our 3 developments from Park Hyatt St. Kitts, Kempinski, Dominica, and Six Senses. Once the lockdown is back or lifted and you all get your wings back, we look forward to welcoming you in the beautiful Caribbean. And hopefully you can come and get to see us and get to know us in person. I'm a firm believer that seeing is believing. Some more pictures. Park Hyatt, #1 hotel by Caribbean Journal. Kempinski, same reviews. As you can see, we build to the highest quality, and these hotels could be in any luxury destination, whether it's Mauritius, Maldives, or the Caribbean. Condé Nast and CNN, similar awards. And again, for Kempinski, also a similar level of accolades. And some pictures of the completed hotel in Dominica. So when we were invited to Grenada at the end of November 2018, we bought this site. Sunday Times named it as one of the best new hotels in the Caribbean. And what's interesting for this from an economic standpoint is that the government said, we would like you to build maybe 15 minutes outside the main tourist belt. We want you to build 2 hotels here. And in return, we're going to give you better tax concessions than if you were to build in the main area of the country. That will facilitate another tourism capital being developed in Grenada and another whole thousands of jobs being created in this area, which is the largest area of Grenada where there is no industry. So the government are very mindful to use the citizenship program sensibly to spread development across the island. Because today, in a post-COVID world or even pre-COVID world, investing in the Caribbean, I mean, the value of this project is $125 million approximately. You know, for an investor to invest without the carrot of citizenship, okay, is going to be difficult. So the government says, okay, we recognize citizenship program is there. We recognize it's bringing foreign employment. Let's use it sensibly to develop our economy. And let's develop areas which are just a little bit outside, not inconvenient, and also areas of absolutely stunning natural beauty. Now, let's look at this slide. And I think this slide really summarizes, you know, the key essence of why someone wants a second citizenship. Why would someone invest $220,000 US for them to get an investment in Grenada, and then there's some government fees on top, but depending on how many people, dependents you have, okay? Why would someone invest this amount of money to obtain second citizenship? The first thing is, which has been historically, it's a backup plan. God forbid there's a problem in your home country, there's civil unrest, there's economic turbulence. You have a second passport which provides you personal mobility, and personal mobility meaning that you can travel to 130 or 140 countries around the world, UK, Schengen, Russia, China, and 135 other countries of substance. So, you know, you will say to me today, borders are closed, travel was a distant memory. However, what I will say, ladies and gentlemen, is that once COVID retreats, and it will retreat, we're seeing the green shoots. Today is the first day we've been allowed back into our office, and I really hope the same thing is very soon in Ahmedabad. So once COVID retreats, what I will say is it's going to become harder for individuals to get visas, especially if you're from a certain country. Today, you don't look at where you can travel without a visa, you look at where you can't go with your passport. So what I will say to you, ladies and gentlemen, visas will be harder to achieve. So having the benefit of Grenada will provide you with a very flexible travel tool. It also permits the mobility of capital. I think Mr. Chairman mentioned the movement of capital outside India. The amounts in question here are all within the LRS limits, especially for the husband and wife. So it's been well structured and well thought out like that. Grenada permits dual citizenship. It's called the second citizenship program, and as a consequence, you know, there is no issue from the Grenadian side. From the Indian side, I know there's a stigma attached with second citizenship. So what a number of our clients do is they take the Grenadian passport and then they get an OIC card, which is not a very difficult process. It can be obtained online. It takes a period of 90 days. And the disadvantages of an OIC card are that, number one, you can't own new agricultural land, but whatever agricultural land you currently have, you can maintain. And the second disadvantage is that you can't stand for political office. But individuals who are generally looking at second citizenship are not really interested in standing for political office. The key thing, another key thing, ladies and gentlemen, is you can add your parents, your children, your grandparents, your grandchildren, and unmarried siblings in one application. So it's very cost effective. And also what's interesting as well is you don't need to visit or reside in the island. we work with you, we work with your clients to put the file together. It's sent to Grenada, and within 3 months, you're told, yes, you're welcome to the island of Grenada as a citizen. Please pay the final amount. Or, for any unforeseen reason where there hasn't been full and transparent declaration, there's a rejection. 95% of our cases are approved. Now, what you have to do is, it's an investment primarily. So you make the investment of $220,000. You have to keep the investment for 5 years. After 5 years, you can sell the share to someone else who also wants to apply for a passport, and you retain your passport and your citizenship in perpetuity. So there's a natural exit mechanism. Then once the hotel is open, it will generate between 2 to 5%. You can come and stay at the hotel. There's ownership benefits of 2 weeks a year. And during construction, you can stay 2 weeks a year at one of our other hotels. So it's a very good package that way. Now, let me also add, that's the investment point. But really the icing on the cake, the main reason why today Grenada has become so topical is because of the middle box. It has a special relationship with the United States. And this is what brought me to India week in, week out before the COVID lockdown. And I look forward to return and meet all of you in person and hopefully deliver this in your chapter headquarters. What is a United States E2 visa? In essence, it's a business visa. Grenada was invaded by the United States in 1983. As part of the reparations of war, Grenada was awarded an E2 visa treaty. The E2 visa treaty says, as a Grenadian citizen, if you invest a significant amount in the United States, and significant is $150,000 as defined by custom, not by statute, you invested in your own business. So you expand your chartered accountant's practice to the US, or you buy a franchise, or you buy an additional business. You, your wife, your children can come and live in the United States. Below 18, your children get free education. Your spouse can work anywhere. And you know what? Between 18 to 21, they get the same discounted university fees as EB5. And you know what else, ladies and gentlemen? If the main applicant doesn't spend 122 days in the United States, he's not taxed on his worldwide income. He's only taxed on his US sourced income, which is really a fantastic benefit. If you look at it, everyone, I'm sure a lot of your clients will have talked to you about EB5. It became really popular in 2000 and 2 years ago. So 2017, 2018, every weekend in Ahmedabad, every weekend in Surat, there would be a seminar saying, pay $500,000, go to the United States. Mr. Trump on November the 22nd, 2019, basically changed the EB5 for good. It became a victim of its own success. So not only did he increase the price from 500,000 to 1.8 million, there's a discount of 900,000 if you invest in a targeted employment area. I don't mean discount, I mean a reduced threshold of investment. But the biggest problem with EB5 today is that it takes 7 years as an Indian. It takes 10 years as a Vietnamese. It takes 15 years as a Chinese. So even if I have 1.8 million, but I can't go to the United States for 7 years, and maybe that doesn't achieve my objective. Maybe I'm retired and I want to be near my children. I don't have the luxury of another 7 years. Maybe my kids need to start school at a certain age of life. I don't have the luxury of 7 years. Maybe I'm looking to set up a new business. I don't have the luxury of 7 years. So that is why Grenada has become so topical in India, because to follow the American dream today, the only way is through the island of Grenada. And it's really remarkable how a small island, due to an unfortunate incident, which was invasion in 1983, became an E2 visa treaty country. And now these opportunities have opened and investment is being driven into the island as a consequence. So it really is a very interesting state of affairs when you look at it. So let's move on to the next slide. Key benefits of second citizenship pre-COVID. We talked about this one, mobility, and we talked a lot about migration. You know, when I came to India in 2000, and I think first time I came was 14 and second time in 16 to promote St. Kitts and Dominica, you know, all I could promote was visa-free travel. The Indian high net worth individual said to me, you know, Mohammed, nice project, nice idea, but we can get visas. We don't need to spend $200,000-300,000 and, you know, have the ability. We don't have an issue getting visas. When I came with Grenada, because of the US and because of the ability to economically migrate and resettle your family in the United States, that really, as using the phrase again, icing on the cake, is what kept us coming and kept us coming again and again, because of the tens of millions of dollars all these EB5 companies spent, and then they weren't able to assist those clients. Today, our biggest source of referrals is from clients who are waiting to go to the United States, and this is the only route. Another way pre-COVID is the political security. I call it the option B, and this is also going to become very, very important post-COVID. One other thing which has to be remembered is the tax efficiencies. So about 2 or 3 months ago, after your last budget in India was announced, literally the next morning, our office was like a revolving doors of high net worth individuals from India, of NRIs. Why? Because everyone was concerned that the new budget was going to extend tax on NRIs living in Dubai in a similar manner to the United States. Today, if you have a US citizenship, you are taxed based on your citizenship, not on your residency. And you are taxed at 40%, 50%, whatever the percentage is. And, irrespective of double tax treaties, there's still an amount that you have to pay back to the United States government. So this becomes very expensive for an individual who's maybe has lost his ties for the United States. And there was a concern that the budget coming from India this year was going to do the same thing to NRIs, especially those in the Gulf who didn't pay tax in any jurisdiction. Now, immediately there was a clarificatory memo written, and certain terms like bona fide worker were introduced into the legislation. And when I ask anyone what a bona fide worker is, they look at me in a strange way, even though it's in the legislation. So when people ask me, how do I define bona fide worker? I say it's going to be $2 million in legal fees, and no one is going to give you any clarity until there's been a claimant and there's been a judge and this thing has been challenged. Because one day, potentially, the law may look to tax, or even in a future budget, citizenship-based taxation may come in. So what we're saying to individuals is, if you live outside India, maybe you've lost your ties with India, you're second generation Indian, cross-cultural marriage, children have, outside, educated somewhere else. So, whilst you maintain your heartbeat, your link with India has been reduced. Consider taking a Grenadian passport. You're at no disadvantage because you're not going to stand for political office and you're not going to buy any agricultural land. Take Grenadian, put your third-party residency visa in. So you're not even an NRI, you're not even in the discussion. As I say, the best way to win a battle is by not turning up to the battlefield. You don't have to make declarations of your income, you don't have to day count, you don't have to do any of that. And all for $250,000, you've totally reduced the tax liability that can arise. Because you know what? If citizenship-based taxation comes, it will be exactly like the United States, where to give up your citizenship, they will do an assessment of your forward income for 10 years and you'll have to pay tax on that. That's what happens when you want to give up your US citizenship today. So the same thing will happen. If citizenship-based taxation comes in India, because the corollary of citizenship-based taxation is a citizenship exit tax. They go hand in hand. So what we're saying to a lot of high net worth NRIs today is, let's look at this today and let's not get another degree in hindsight, whether in 2 years, 3 years, 12 months, that citizenship-based taxation comes in. So that has led a lot of demand for this product. Let's talk about some of the discussions I'm having on a global basis, because that's also, I think, interesting for all-round understanding of, in a post-COVID world, what is going to drive second citizenship. Capital. We put it into 4 boxes. Emerging markets are going to face more stress than the emerging world by definition. The Federal Reserve is printing trillions of dollars on a weekly basis. The European Union is putting stimulus into its economies like no tomorrow. The United Kingdom is paying all of the employees in the country today. We have gone through a sudden economic halt. GDP drops in the second quarter are just going to be staggering. So what is that going to result in because of stimulus? Higher taxes, higher inflation, capital controls, depreciation of emerging market currencies. Debt to GDP is going to increase. So all of these, especially in the emerging markets, because the governments don't have enough stimulus to remedy the economy. I hope in India the situation is different and the government is able to have enough tools at its disposal. But because of these steps, or because of these measures, in countries like South Africa, in countries like Brazil, countries like Mexico, Nigeria, you are going to see social unrest. You are seeing it today as a result of debt spiraling out of control. So what is happening? Individuals are coming to us and saying our home country doesn't provide security as it did for our businesses and our families. We need a second citizenship. Okay. And today, a second citizenship, which only provides visa-free travel, which is important because it's a second box, does not provide the required level of comfort. People are looking for economic and personal migration to a large economy. And that large economy is either United States or Europe. So the three programs in the world today which are interesting is Grenada, giving you immediate access to the United States with the E2 visa. It's either Cyprus and Malta, providing you immediate access to the European Union. What I will say about Cyprus and Malta is that it's very expensive. Malta is €1 million donation to the government of Malta, again in statute, and Cyprus is a 2.5 or $2.75 million investment in real estate, which is out of the realms of most people. Even if people have that money, they can put it into the stock market, and you know what, if they'd put it in a month ago, they would have already made 30-40%. There's better opportunities for the use of that 2.5 million today, and that's why Grenada provides a sweet spot. It provides investors the opportunity to get a second passport, which assists them with some of the capital issues, assists them with some of the borders, but also assist them economically migrate to the United States within 6 weeks, obtain the benefit of being part of a large economy, which is putting unbelievable stimulus in. I mean, I wish my business was based in the United States today. Look at the amount of tax, look at the amount of support I'd be getting to pay my employees. Look at the protection the country is providing, which is quite something. And then as we move on, certain countries, emerging markets especially, as they lack stability, they restrict movement. And you have something which I call the Orwell dilemma. So in Russia, for instance, everyone has an app. You have to go on that app. You have to try and get permission to leave your house. If you leave your house for the wrong reason, so for example, you say you're going to walk your dog, but you go to the supermarket. I've had people who have come under, basically been interrogated by the police by that. And people believe that once we've surrendered these civil liberties, the same issue is going to come post-COVID, and these rights that the state has obtained will be used for other reasons. And that's why they think that second citizenship will assist them in a post-COVID world. So that is something which is also quite interesting and driving people towards second citizenship. I mentioned, St. Kitts and Dominica, and really what I'd like to say on this slide is Grenada. If you look at it, everyone's price is the same. Visa-free benefit of Grenada is the most. It has visa-free to China, which no other country has. It has the US benefit, which no other country has. And it has very generous definition of dependence, which no other country has. So if the price is the same, people are saying we want the one with the best option. And we worked very hard with the government of Grenada to really restructure their program. Obviously, these things we weren't able to do structurally, but in terms of realignment of price and efficiency of processing, to ensure that it really became pole position in the citizenship by investment rankings. You can see in this schematic everywhere around the world, you can travel with a Grenada passport, fantastic access, Russia, China, UK, Schengen, South America, Africa, Southeast Asia. The government of Grenada managed diplomatic relations very, very well. And I think, other countries really can take lessons from the way Grenada manage all these large blocks and stay neutral. When you get to Grenada, you will find two things, tourism and education. Believe it or not, Grenada has the world's largest offshore medical school. It has students from 140 countries, and 1% of the world's doctors have graduated from this campus. It is the #1 provider of US medical residencies for the last 10 years into the United States. It has reciprocal arrangements with all the large hospitals. There's so many US students here who can even use their US government loans. It's the second largest source of doctors for the entire United States. And who would have thought a country with only 130,000 people has this level of professionalism? Offshore medical schools, this is the largest one in the Caribbean. This campus changed hands for $2.5 billion 2 years ago to a US fund. So it is a very sizable enterprise. Indian investors have taken advantage of this demand. In the sister island of Antigua, Mr. Manipal has a campus there. And I think there's one or two other investors from India who've also set up offshore medical schools. So really, when you look at it, the island must be saluted for pursuing education, and this makes up 25% of the island's GDP. As I said, it's all about getting an approval in an expeditious manner, but yet maintaining the integrity of the citizenship. This approval was issued in 92 days. This approval was issued in 81 days, 78 days, and this one was approved in 89 days. What I will say to you, ladies and gentlemen, is if you look at it, efficiency, 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 and the government put a new team. We worked with them to digitize the system. We worked with them on their procedures, and really they have it down to a fine art. They know how to protect the country's integrity, protect the future citizens' integrity while issuing it in an expeditious manner. It's a far cry from the 7 years of the EB5 and many years for some of the European countries. We talked a lot about second citizenship of Grenada and some of the E2 benefits. The key takeaways I'd like you to take from these last few slides is that this is no longer a theory, it's a proven concept. Many of our investors have been awarded second citizenship of Grenada and are now living in the United States. Investors from India have taken advantage of this. Investors from Ho Chi Minh have taken advantage from this. Investors from Beijing, and you apply at your nearest embassy. Grenada is the only Caribbean country, in fact, the only citizenship by investment country which has a sensible E2 visa. I use the word sensible because every E2 visa is different. Grenada has 5 years. You can go to the US for 5 years, multiple entry, and you can renew it indefinitely. There's another country which offers citizenship by investment called Montenegro. It's double the price of Grenada, but the E2 is only valid for 12 months because they didn't have the strife of going through war and weren't awarded such a strong E2 investment treaty visa. So really, Grenada has the strongest and most flexible E2 visa. Many of you will say, why have we never heard of this E2 visa? What I will say to you is 40,000 people did this E2 visa last year, opposed to 10,000 which only did EB5. The reason you haven't heard of an E2 visa before is India doesn't have an E2 visa treaty with the United States. It didn't go through that period of strife. It won't reciprocate. So whilst the US will say, Indians, you have the same opportunities as Americans, the Americans will never have the same opportunities as Indians in India. So that is one of the prerequisites. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not here to comment on politics. However, that is just the way it is. So if an Indian national wishes to go to the United States under the E2, he first has to become a national of a treaty country and then jump into the United States. And really, this slide summarizes the differences. I won't call them advantages or disadvantages, the differences between E2 and EB5. EB5 ultimately leads to permanent residency and citizenship. The disadvantage of that is you're taxed from the beginning. Here, you're not taxed if you don't spend 122 years. You have to have a substantial investment. In the EB5, it's between 900 and 1.8. Here, it's 150. There is no limit in terms of jobs. So you can have, there's no minimum, I mean. So in the EB5, it's 10. Here, there's no set quota. You can delegate, but you have to be able to direct and develop the main business that you are doing. And the key thing is you have to apply at the nearest US consulate. You can apply in India, you can apply in Barbados, whereas with an EB5, you have to apply in the United States, which is why you have a significant processing time between 4 to 15 years, depending on where you're born. In Grenada, it's just 6 weeks because you're applying at the embassy. Spouse can work and children get state education. Nepachi source of funds ma jarak seluche compared to the EB5. Here are some examples of some visas for some of our clients. And this is a Chinese family which have been issued E2. How much does it cost? Well, the answer to that is how many people are you bringing in the application? Cost of the share is same. It's always 220. You keep the investment for 5 years, and apachi panchwara swastet, you sell it to someone else who wants a passport. You pay the fees in pink at the beginning to the government. They do due diligence on you and your clients or your clients. You then get a yes or no, and then you pay the balance. So you pay $300,000 in total for a family of 4. out of which 220 can be liquidated after 5 years. The share can be sold to someone else who wants a passport. Netama, you keep your passport in perpetuity for the balance of your life and your children's life and your future generation. So it's a really excellent exit mechanism. And as I said, Kay, during the life of the investment, you make your 2 to 3% to 4% as the hotel stabilizes. What are we building in Grenada? Some more beautiful pictures. This is the Six Senses hotel brand, #1 hotel brand in the world by Travel and Leisure for the last 3 years. They're opening a hotel in India, I think, in the next year. They're building some spas in India as well. It's a brand which was bought by Intercontinental Hotels last year in a mammoth transaction, and is a brand which is centered on environmental sustainability and providing a holistic quality of life. So it really is a fantastic brand. And as I flick through some parting images of the spa, of the restaurants, of the beach and the swimming pool area, some of the residential product. And yeah, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time, and thank you for your attention. I hope you found it an informative session. And now maybe it's the time to open to the floor for some questions. So thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. Arwa, if you can now take a few questions that you have prepared as an FAQs.
Yeah, sure. I think, Mohammed, one of the common questions that we get asked is there a return on investment for the share in the hotel?
Sure. So once the hotel is open, the hotel will generate cash flow, and that cash flow belongs to the investors. So the pro rata share is expected to be between 2 to 5%, okay, which is paid annually once the hotel opens. During construction, you're welcome to come and stay. We give ownership entitlement, so you're welcome to come and spend 2 weeks at another one of our Caribbean hotels. And once the Six Senses is open, you're also entitled to spend 2 weeks a year at that hotel.
Right, and I think another common question that we do get is, what happens after 5 years holding period of the investment? What if they want to liquidate?
So look, typically what happens is an investor will come to us. Maybe Harith Bhai took this and he'll say, look, my brother has seen me. He wants these benefits. He wants to travel. He wants to move to the United States. So, we've entered into a transaction, and typically it's sold within friends and family. If that's not the case, people come to us saying, please facilitate an exit. So we intermediate and we find another buyer who will want to obtain the benefit of second citizenship. Because the next investor can obtain second citizenship, it becomes a very liquid in the secondary market.
Okay, great.
So after 5 years, the amount of 220 has to be paid again, or it's one-time cost?
So, Harith Bhai, at the beginning, you will pay 220 to us to buy the share. Then someone else will have to buy the share from you at a transaction between both of yourselves. So I presume if you paid me 220, you'll want to sell it to Arwa at the same, if not more, price.
No, but after 5 years, do I have to pay again for renewal, or that is only one-time lifetime payment of 220?
That's it. The 220 plus what you pay to the government fees, that's it for you. When Arwa buys it for you, she has to pay you 220 and she has to pay the government fees at the time.
Okay, so in case I don't intend to sell it, I need not pay anything after 5 years also?
Correct. You just receive the benefit of income.
Mohammed, I think one of the common things, especially for clients that are looking to move to the USA, is not so much the Grenada passport, but how quickly can they apply for the E2 and what is the process?
So the way it works is the client will come to us at the beginning, and we have to complete 2 sets of documents. One is Grenada, one is E2. So first we file the Grenada because it's the first step which has to be taken. So we file the Grenada. Maybe that process takes 2 to 3 weeks to make the file. It takes 3 months to get approved. As soon as we file the Grenada piece, we start the E2 application. E2 application, we prepare the business plan, we prepare the forms, we work with good attorneys, and that process will take 3 to 4 weeks. As soon as we get the Grenada passport, after a week, 2 weeks, we submit the E2 application, and within 6 weeks, the interview will happen, and then thereafter, within a very short period of time, 2 weeks, the approval is issued.
Great. Another common question I think people ask is, what if the project never gets delivered? What happens to their investment and their citizenship?
Okay, so look, first of all, you need to bifurcate. This is not like EB5. You need to bifurcate on the Grenada side between the investment and the citizenship. You're not being issued permanent residency. You're not being issued a passport. You are getting citizenship, and it's protected as per the constitution. You get the citizenship at the outset. It's yours, and it's to pass down to your future generations. So that way, that's secured forever. In terms of project not being delivered, you know, what I say to people is that we've delivered twice before. We have the capital to deliver again. COVID has not affected us in terms of our capital raising, and it hasn't affected the demand. And our construction team, as soon as they're allowed out of their houses, will be back on site. So whilst track record is not a guarantee of future performance, when we look at any fund, it's the first thing we look at, okay, what is the annualized return? We're the only people who've delivered. So at the end of the day, that protection is there, in addition to having all the escrow accounts and all the rest of it.
Great. Another question to do with E2, because I think that's a common question that we get asked by our clients. In terms of the business for E2, is it limited to a certain area, certain segment like the EB5?
Arwa, it's your business. You can invest anywhere in the United States you wish, in any one of the 50 states. You can invest in any business type you wish. It can be an expansion of your jeweler's shop. It can be expansion of your garment factory. It can be an extension of your manufacturing. Or you can set up a totally new business in the United States. You can buy a franchise. You can work with a number of companies, business incubators, providing you pass the minimum threshold, providing you will be interviewed and you'll be asked to justify your business plan. And as long as you can justify your business plan, they're not looking for guarantee of success. They're looking for, does the individual who's applying have the ability to run the business? That's it. No one can guarantee success.
We do find like a lot of our clients, especially from Gujarat, already have a lot of family in America, and they already have existing businesses in America. So they have convenience stores, petrol stations. Can a new member of the family who's potentially got Grenada move into the US, join part of the business and do the E2 that way?
Yeah, so look, as long as a new investor has 50% of the business, retains the ability to direct and develop the business, they can use that as an E2 investment. It doesn't have to be a new investment.
Okay. Harith, have you got any questions?
Yeah, I got one from the member. Just a minute, I'm just opening that.
Okay.
So the question is, E2 application to US to be made after 5 years post gaining citizenship of Grenada?
Sorry, could you repeat the question, please, Harith? I just lost you there.
The E2 application to the United States, whether it has to be made after 5 years of gaining citizenship of Grenada?
It can be made the next day after obtaining citizenship of Grenada.
The citizenship is actually given after 3 months, so there's no obligation for you to wait 5 years for a citizenship. So as soon as the application's made, the approval will come within 90 to 120 days. So around 3 months, they will get approval for the citizenship.
Right. And
So
one
if
more
you
question
start
regarding the
today,
return on. Sorry.
What, sorry?
If you start today, end of April, before the end of the year, you will be having the Grenada and E2 piece together.
And one more question is on the, kindly please explain the details of return on investment that we have made to the Grenadian country. So they're asking basically for the return of investment. You can elaborate more on that.
So you're investing in a hotel. That hotel, when it's open, will have a cash flow. There's no debt associated with this project. So whatever cash flow comes is for the benefit of all the investors put together. That hotel is expected to generate 2-3% in the first year, and it'll rise towards about 5% as the hotel reaches stabilized occupancy and matures in the market. And it's that pro rata income which the investor will enjoy the benefit of, as well as the ability to stay in the hotel.
So that is any particular like return is fixed or it is variable, like how the return works?
It's based on the performance of the hotel. So it's not fixed. It could be 1%, it could be 6%. But we give an indication based on the projections provided to us by Six Senses Hotel brand.
Okay, another question that we got is there any government guarantee involved? Like, is the Canadian government giving any guarantee for this investment or something?
No, the government's not providing a guarantee. However, an individual can be assured that the government has done a lot of due diligence on us. So they've looked at our financial position, they've looked at our previous track record, they've seen that we've built in the Caribbean before. And that is why they've given us the approval to promote citizenship. So they've done a lot of due diligence on us before they awarded us with that concession.
So I think the question might be flowing in from the point that in case the projects don't happen or for whatever the reason, then whether the funds, the government will be able to repay them to the government, or the company will be liable for that. But what if the company, like that, company would be liable? The government doesn't give any kind of a guarantee.
Yes, there's an escrow account, but however, the government is not guaranteeing it. The government is giving you an opportunity to apply for citizenship. It is guaranteeing your citizenship is entrenched in the constitution and the benefits you have as a citizen, but it's not guaranteeing the investment.
So these are the questions that we have gotten. Any other aspect that you want to touch, Arwa or Mohammed? We have still some time.
Arwa, please, why don't you say a few words of your experience with Indian investors?
I think one more thing, if you can do, we have time, you can share.
Thank you.
I think you need to turn your mic on. It's just gone mute. No, I don't think we can hear you. So look, what I will maybe say, Harith Bhai, can you hear me?
Yes, Mohammed, what we can also do is, you have a few clients in Ahmedabad or in India. You can share those experiences also, like how they have been benefited.
Yes, Mohammed, we have collected some questions from the participants. So if you want to answer that, we can share the presentation.
Bishan bhai, one or two other I've already asked them. Any other that you have got apart from the two that we have been given in the email?
Yeah, so you can look at it and
please, Bishan bhai, feel free to ask the question. I can't see them in the chat box.
So have you taken this question? E2 application to USA to be made after 5 years.
Yes.
Done.
Yes.
So I guess now what are the yes Harith bhai.
Mohammed and Arwa, they are sharing a few experiences of their clients that they have been dealing in India basically.
Okay.
So we have time so they can share those things with us.
Okay.
So look, we've literally since September, when I was first invited to speak at a conference in India, I've spent, I'd say, 1 week out of 3, even potentially more time in India. And really, there have been 3 guiding reasons why an Indian individual is interested in Grenada. First of all, certain societies and part of societies may feel a little bit nervous because of wider macro issues. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the taxation. A lot of people are looking at this and saying, especially if we have a base outside India, how can we really benefit from the taxation advantages, which is really important for your group as chartered accountants? How can we really benefit from this in our economic migration strategy? The third reason is we want to move to the United States. Now, why do we want to move to the United States? There's 3 or 4 reasons. First is children's education, all right, which we hear day in, day out. The second thing is I'm elderly, my children are in the United States, I need to be there quickly. They migrate. The third reason is my kids are graduating, H-1B is not available or very, very difficult. I need to have a plan for my children. The fourth reason is we applied for L1. After the first renewal, it was rejected. We hear this a lot because L1 is not being used. It has a very high rejection rate. It is not being used for the reasons it's meant to be being used. So people find their US strategy suddenly in tatters because they went down the wrong visa category, and they find themselves having now to look at Grenada E2 as a potential solution. So we've had people from India from all walks of life. But what we typically find, let's look at the Gujarati mentality. Okay, you have an individual heavily involved in business. He wants to keep one foot in India, one foot outside. He will be the dependent. The wife will be the main applicant. They'll go and buy a Starbucks in the United States. Okay, it's a franchise, less day-to-day management hassle once they become Grenadian, and that is the E2 investment. The wife will sit on the board. She'll retain the ability to develop direct. Kids will go to school. The main applicant will spend less than 122 days in United States, so he won't be subject to the whole tax story. The wife and kid will visit him 120 days, which is school holiday in India. Okay, he has his Grenadian passport as well. So, you know, and then 120 days, they will be separate. So they're spending together 2/3 of the year. The Indian business is not subject to tax. They're receiving the benefits in their mind of what is living in the US. And then what some individuals do is they also establish residence in a third-party country to try and reduce offshore tax burden everywhere, especially if they establish it in the GCC. So that is a strategy that we've seen a number of high net worth Indian investors, even from Gujarat, apply. And why they like Grenada E2 compared to the US EB5, one is time, two is EB5 may not be achievable because of source of funds challenges. They don't have documentation. When Grenada E2, you just have to show how you made $220,000 legitimately, not every single penny from the inception of your life. So it's a source of funds test is based on the 220. It's like the European model. And that has really been very interesting with Indian investors. And we've seen people from all walks of life, professional doctors who want to set up a clinic, very large industrialists in Gujarat looking at this, individuals from Hyderabad. So it's been across the country, the demand we're seeing, not limited to one area. And, you know, we've had the pleasure of, you know, becoming acquainted with lots of parts of India over the last 6-7 months, which has been a pleasure.
Right. Arwa, would you like to add something on that regarding your
I just want to
experiences?
say, like, I mean, we've been going to India quite a lot over the last 6 months, and myself and Mohammed have traveled to Gujarat quite a few times. And I think, you know, we've had a lot of interest from Gujaratis, and I speak Gujarati, Mohammed speaks Gujarati as well. So hopefully next time we're there, we'll get to meet a lot of you people and take things forward. But I mean, me and Mohammed are always at hand. We have a fantastic referral scheme as well for your members in terms of if they've got any clients that are interested as well. Please feel free to drop us a line and we can take it forward.
Thank you, Arwa. Thank you, Mohammed. Kishan bhai.
Yeah, so on behalf of Ahmedabad branch of WIRC of ICAI, we are thankful to both our panelists, Mohammed and Arwa. Thank you so much for enlightening us and throwing some light how we can basically do a citizenship at some other countries. So thank you very much, and we will look forward to you when you are going to visit Ahmedabad, and would like that our members do meet you and take benefit of your these services. So thank you very much. Again, we are also thankful to the CP committee chairman Harit Dariwal for bringing such a nice webinar for our members. So friends, thank you. We are concluding this webinar here. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you, Bishan bhai. Thank you, Harit bhai. Thank you, Fennel bhai, for your kind words and the opportunity today. It's been a real pleasure to spend a few hours speaking to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you.